Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing and whoever you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it to. I'm Bushka on Blitz, and this is the M4A1 Rev. This is a tank I've actually been lucky enough to drive on PC as well as on Blitz. The problem I have with driving it on Blitz is that I drive it as a super test tank. We are not allowed to show footage of super test tanks. I have some amazing games in the K91, but I did a K91 review and I didn't have the tank on my normal account, so I couldn't show you any of the super test footage. And exactly the same goes for this tank. The same rules apply. I can, however, talk to you about my experiences in the tank, talk to you about the pros and the cons of the tank, and show you some gameplay from three very, very fine humans who sent me through footage of fantastic games in the M4A1. Now, the tank is so tier 8 medium, it doesn't matter. There is a real tier 8 gun depression medium slugfest that goes on. The Revalorise, or the Rev, I mean, I butcher pronunciations all the time, and that's allowable because I'm Australian. But if you want to know what I'm talking about with the tier 8 medium thing, I'm going to give you a news flash on some of the tier 8 mediums that have gun depression and, you know, not much else, like your AMX CDC, your FCM 50T, your Revalorise, your Indian Panzers, your STA1s, your Cent Mark 1s, your M26 Pershings, your T26E4 Super Pershings, your Type 69s. You know, you get the idea that there is a whole thing about low alpha, high gun depression guns. But the Revalorise actually has a 105mm gun, which is fairly high alpha for this tier. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but 310 alpha on a tier 8 medium is actually quite large. The T44, the T54 Mod 1, the T44 100, the Type 59, all those kind of tanks, T34, I mean, they have 100mm guns that have 280 alpha. So 310 alpha with about 2000 DPM is higher alpha than most by a small margin, like about 10%, and lower DPM than most by a small margin, about 10%. I mean, go figure. But you have 10 degrees of gun depression, and I'll be honest, the tank looks absolutely iconic. There is no way around that. If you're a fan of the M4 series of vehicles, it looks gorgeous. They've modeled it fantastically. It looked fantastic on PC. It looks just as bloody fantastic here on the mobile version of the game. The big 105mm gun with that, like, the end of the nozzle looks like, woohoo, happy McDays. Have a look at it. Big beastly thing. That's where the big beastly stuff finishes. The tank has great gun depression. It's got lovely pen. 200mm of pen on a premium round is just bloody dandy. And 250mm of heat pen in the same vein is excellent. Absolutely excellent. You won't have any issues with it whatsoever. Where you're going to struggle with this tank, and it's quite obvious, is the armour. The armour is genuinely horrible. And I wish it wasn't, but it is. The armour is genuinely horrible. And we'll break that down and we'll talk about how you can work around that as well. But just try to understand that you're not going to win with this tank based, I mean, he gets a clutch bounce. The only place that would have bounced, honest to God, is the gun mantlet. And even then, it wouldn't have bounced a lot. There's two. Have you ever wondered about why, you know, everyone works out during the winter so they can fit into those tight board shorts and swimsuits in the summer, or fit through those tiny gaps next to SU-152s, ISU-152s? That's why you work out in that winter booty, so that you can get through those narrow gaps and COD ISU-152s. But literally, I'll show you the armor profile after this game, and we'll discuss that in depth. It's also not amazing in terms of traverse, etc. Yep. It's all about the gun depression, really, with this tank. You want to be peekabooming using that 310 alpha, resetting your camo, and then elevating your tank above the target so that if they see anything, they see the top of the turret more than likely, or the gun mantlet. But even that is not going to save you very, very often. The sides of the tank are so poor that if you are peekabooming and moving out sideways, you're going to run into big issues, because like most of the M4 series, it's quite tall and there is a lot of side panel above the tracks, which means there is a lot of available target space above the tracks that anyone can pen with a standard AP round, and in fact, some people will pen with a HE round. If you want a comparison to another M4 tank, it's the Firefly. I mean, it really is very much, in terms of visuals, exactly like the Firefly with that longer slope on the front, although it is a little bit humped in the middle of that, and it has that same firepower with decent penetration, although the Firefly has outstanding penetration for its tier, with 10 degrees of gun depression. It does not have incredible mobility, but it's got enough mobility to get the job done. And it can get up to 18 kilometers an hour backwards too, which can actually be quite handy when you're going forward and backwards on the peaks of hills and berms like our Amigo is doing right here to get the job done. Sorry, I said get the job done twice there. Great shot, finish him up, and has him 75, gets a big win, 6 kills. All the games you're going to see are pretty solid, and I apologise for those of you whose games didn't get featured. It wasn't because I didn't think they were good enough. I was on a bit of a, let's just say I was on a bit of a time limitation. Time was of the essence in this one. So the first guys that came through the door got preferential treatment. So thank you very much, though, for everyone who did send games in. You never know. Now, this is when viewed from the perspective of the Tiger 2 shooting AP, which is pretty solid penetration gun and everything. But you can see the red bits are where the Tiger 2 won't pen, and everything else is where the Tiger 2 will pen. And there is an awful lot of will pen there. That's frontally. Sideways, even angled up at 23 degrees, there is nothing that is even slightly going to stop a decent shell from penetrating. And that's unfortunate. I'd love to see it with a little bit more armor profile, but for all that, the backs, the sides, the front, they are all going to cop an absolute flogging. And the Tiger 2 has a great penetration gun, 224mm, but it's not penetrating it by just a little bit. It is way over the front. And that leads you to two really solid conclusions. One, this is not a frontline tank. It is not a frontline tank's buttocks. And two, you do not want to get involved in one-on-ones with this tank unless you can be certain you're going to make good hit point trades. Because if you get involved in one-on-ones with the M4A1 Rev, pretty much every shot anyone fires at you from tier 7, 8, or 9 is going in. And a lot of them will go in with HE shells, which is really not a lot of fun. But that 200mm of AP pen, that 10 degrees of gun depression, that ability to move backwards and forwards very quickly because you've got nearly 20 kilometers an hour of reverse speed, means, yeah, you can make the sun shine if you've got the right set of situations, If you've put yourself in the right kind of position to do so, like our Amigo has done right here. Ultimate Destro is in a very, very fine position for a tank with 10 degrees of gun depression and decent pen. Now, the DPM might be a little bit on the low side, but in a situation like this, DPM isn't really that important. And it's actually one of the reasons I wanted to feature this review, is this is the gentle dance, the art form of not showing yourself off to the guys in the flanks, getting a shot in, and then dropping back. And you can see you've got a 9.3 second reload on this tank. Now, that's an important number because the actual reset time for camouflage is 9.8 seconds. So from the time you fire and pull back, if you don't go out until there is one in the spout, nearly every time, as long as you are behind hard cover, you are going to be dropping off the radar in terms of camo. And that's great. 9.8 seconds and a 9.3 second reload is like the perfect number. So it does have that going for it. And this is the Peekaboom Playstyle you want to be playing with this tank. You can see just gently drifting forward on the reload. Then you've got one in the spout. The DPM's not really very important. You want to make sure that you're not getting hit by anyone over there because everyone over there can pen you frontally. Like, there is no way around that. Especially tanks like the Carnarvon down there with that fantastic 220-odd-millimeters of pen, 225. I think the Carnarvon is offhand, and that's going out too early in my opinion. But still, the Carnarvon misses, and you're only showing the very top of your armor profile there, which is not coincidentally the absolute finest part of your armor profile. And the Carnarvon bouncing that one. The very top of the turret is actually quite strong. That IS is dashing up there. 0.317 dispersion on your gun will allow you to get all kinds of decent shots in, so happy days there. That Yag Panther is not someone you want to mess around with. The Yag Panther will tear you limb from limb with DPM. Like that Yag Panther will absolutely poop all over this M4A1. Do never get involved in a one-on-one with a Yag Panther if they are in a position to make trades with you. It's very soft, very fragile, the Yag Panther. He's not looking at the M4A1, so Destro's happy days. He can clear him now. That's a good trade. Even if you get hit there by the IS, that's a good trade. That's 2 guns out. Lovely work here by Destro, just working the ridges, that 10 degrees of gun depression, doing good things, not getting pulled into a shot that was no good for him. Turning that FCM50 into a one-shot. 310 alpha will do that. That's lovely. Pushing down here, then going for the one-shot on the IS. Now that Russian gun, not very trustworthy at the best of times, but he does derp that shot. Now he's in a little bit of strife because every gun there is going to get through them. Oh, that IS. Oh, he gets a bounce. This is brutal. You're going to bleed in the M4A1 Rev. There's no way around it. If they get shots on you, you are going to bleed. Whew. Clears a target, clears a target, clears a target. Now, this is perfect play for the M4A1. There is no way around this. This is the way you want to be playing this tank. You want to save your hit points. You want to make intelligent trades. You want to make sure that you're using that big 310 alpha, and it is for a tier 8 medium, a very big dose of alpha. It is 100% a big dose of alpha. There are very few tier 8 mediums that can out-alpha this tank. An alpha strike is what's really important when you're playing Peekaboom. Here we go. The IS-6 is pushing up. You've got enough DPM, and this is where you can make trades. You want to win this. You want to make sure that you're in a position to win it, but you've saved your hit points, and this might be the situation where you go, well, if I can get the drop on this guy, I can certainly then just out-DPM him. And that's something that Destro's looking at doing here. Oh, he zigged when the other guy zagged. He's below him. Excellent. There's your shot. Now your apples. There's just no way you're going to lose this now. You've got the DPM. Unless he gets a shot in that you don't, you can even go to Pramo, and he hits the top of the thing. Doesn't have great gun depression in the IS-6. And it's all over bar the shouting. Very, very nice game from Ultimate Destro there. Now, I don't want you guys to think that this is going to be the way every game in this tank goes, because I got to tell you, these have been ideal situations or ideally played. 3,897 damage, top gun, high caliber, the Radley Walters, all the good stuff there. You might notice both those games featured a very, very sensible and gradual damage output. They weren't just drive into the enemy, brawl, go one-on-one, tear people apart. They were support kind of roles. Roles either from within the heavy pack on the flank of Oasis Palms, or from the flank of Port Bay. Now, that AMX CDC, HE was low. The IS-3 bashes into the back of him, blows the shot. Unfortunate but that's what you get when you're driving in a pack. It's like being in the peloton in cycling. You're going to have people hustling, bustling. They're not trying to put the hurt on anyone. It's just very, very tense and hectic in there. Now, this is actually quite aggressive here. That CDC was wide open for business. And you can see there's 5 targets there that STA1 doesn't have a shot on. As long as he doesn't push too far forward here, he's going to be okay from the left. And Sarius21 is actually doing an excellent job of reading this game. You'll see there are no big super duper alpha guns on the red team. So there's no Borsig or something there to camp in cover. Like, there's only the AT, the Tiger 2. These are all relatively low alpha strike guns for heavies and TDs. They're not 120mm and up. So this is the perfect situation for the M4A1. It doesn't have to worry so much about copying a 900 damage alpha roll out of a Borsig or, an SU-152 or an ISU-152. It can focus on being that very fine assassin-like tank, not the roll forward and bash and bounce. This is all about using the right shell. Unlucky again, going for a HE shell there that just did not come off. And the STA1 caught him turret turning. Very unlucky, but still in all, could have been a 300 alpha shot. turned out to be a 105 alpha shot, resets and moves straight back across the field into the RU251. Excellent work there, but it's 1 on 4, and things really do look pretty grim here. The one advantage that he has is that AT's pretty rumbly. It's not going to move about the field too fast, so he should be able to actually work through one tank here, leave the AT alone, and just treat this like it's a 1v2 situation, which is exactly what he does. Excellent work. At last, run. I mean, I don't know, you know. I don't know what that means. I don't even know. Gets another shot in on the STA, keeps on moving, can't see the IS. Now, that's a big problem. The IS, if he pops here, is going to give him a few headaches. If he can deal with the IS or the STA alone, he'll be apples. Lucky to get a bounce there, but you get a few bounces every game, even in a Borsig or an RU. Now, the IS and the STA1, none of them are combining here. And again, you look at the mobility of the tank. It's good enough. It's not super duper, but it's good enough. The turret turns at in excess of 50 degrees per second of traverse, and that's probably the most important feature of the traverse overall on the tank. You've got to be able to get shots. You've got to be able to track targets. Oh, here's the IS. That's a bit of a bugger. That's always going to hurt. The guns are just going to go in. But I like the fact that he pushes all the way down here so that the next shot he takes is just before he goes into cover, so he doesn't get the IS to take another shot before he pushes down. And that means the IS's next shot is going to be while he is rolling or just stopped, and that's with the big reticle of a Russian tank, which is not a fun thing to do. Getting underneath the gun of the IS, dealing with this STA1, goes for the HE shot, finally gets a HE shot to sit. Brilliant work there, nearly 400 alpha, and now using the STA1 as cover from the IS, gets a great shot in, forces the IS to go forward. IS with really poor gun handling, blows the shot. He then, oh, this is such a lovely drive. Well done, Sarius21. That was absolutely as good as he could have played that situation. He used the IS's gun handling against it. He just eked out the HE shot on that monstrously unlucky STA1, but then fair enough, the STA1 also had a shot go in for 100 millimeters, 100 worth of damage earlier when he was firing HE, and then he gets very aggressive here with the AT7, and I like this play a lot. He backs himself with the AT7 to get panic and confusion from the absolute lack of mobility that the AT has. The AT's pushed himself into a corner here. You can see, and his gun is on the right-hand side of his tank, so Sarius can actually roll up here and shoot that part of the AT's gun. There's no way he can hit that. Now he's got to get around here, and this is just quite simply a mobility problem for the AT. Can't quite get it around before Sarius gets the job done. Amazing game. Played it within an inch of its life there. Used all the tools at his disposal and got the job done. So well done there, Sarius. Really enjoyed that. 4,821 damage. Kolobanov, high caliber, and the mastery badge, and absolutely well deserved. And before we go any further, we should point out that it does seem to earn the same kind of credit coefficient of a Type 59 or a 54 Mod 1, which means you can earn a lot of credits and grind credits in a medium tank, which for me is a lot more fun than grinding credits in a heavy tank. Now, is it worth the money? Well, it depends on what kind of a player you are. If you are an experienced player that knows how to drive tanks like RU251s or Sherman Fireflies or anything that is a pure support tank, then this will be a tank you can, make some love with. But if you are not good at staying inside the boundaries of the vehicle, at not leaving the box that says this is where you can be successful, then you're going to get shagged in this tank. There's no way around it. You are not possessed of any real armor profile whatsoever. So be very aware of the fact that it is not like a Super Pershing where you can use troll armor and gun depression to get the job done. It is not like a T54 Mod 1 where just rolling out and angling will get you, a little bit of love. It is very much like driving something that has lovely features, but only when looked at in the right light. Myself, yeah, I like the tank because of the look of it. It's classy. It looks great. And there will be collectors that buy it because of that. It looks like a fantastic M4, and that's exactly what it's meant to look like. It's French. it says Rev. Yeah, go for it. I've got a stream on tomorrow. If you're around, I'm going to be doing the TOG stream. So many people have a crack at me about the TOG. It's ridiculous. I'm going to drive the TOG because you all never shut up about the bloody TOG. So if you want to watch the TOG stream, get on. Get on and do it. It's up on channel right now. Until next time, boys and girls, look after yourselves and stay safe on the battlefield. Bye for now.